Alrighty guys, welcome back again to NZ Marko Outlaw Kustoms. I'm going to have a quickly sit down and cook yarn this morning, I suppose. Surprise, surprise, that's what I do. But anyway, a wee update. So I've just put up one video and the other one's sitting there ready to go. I'm going to leave it about half a day and then I'm going to pop it up as well. I'm frigging around with these spray guns. So it's a bit long-winded to do almost 2 hours of videos of screwing around with these guns and a little bit of what I was doing. As you'll probably see by the time you watch this, but I apologise for it being so long, but it was sort of, I don't know, it was just, I found it difficult to condense down, so I just split it into 2 videos. This DeVilvis start line gun, the SLG, now there's 2 versions of this and I don't think there's much difference in them. What the difference is I'm not 100% sure. So there's the 610 and there's the 620 in the gravity gun. The 620 you can get in a couple of different tip sizes, and the 610 only comes in the 1.3. I've since discovered through all my research that this is very awkward to get parts for because it's the baseline gun. Even though the 620 is I think like $170 here ish from Spray Guns Direct. It's about $200 here. 210, 215, somewhere around about that sort of figure. When I did a bit more research, it's about the cheapest one I can get here. So it's similar by the time you probably add the freight. If you were just getting one gun, it would probably be close. Whereas the 610, which is what this one is. So I reckon the 620 might have been introduced after I got this one. I'm not sure on that. Can't remember because I got this. Might have been the end of 2018, start of 2019, thereabouts, when I was frigging around with that Dodge in Tasmania. So I messaged Spray Guns Direct, and they said they can't get parts of them. I have hunted, and I think I can get a full seal kit from Australia for it. And I've since discovered, while talking to some of the parts places here, you can buy that gun in New Zealand, but it was never intended to be in certain parts of the world. It was built for the US market, apparently, from what I've learnt. So whether there's seal kits and stuff available in the US, I don't know. But for a few dollars more, and now there's the FLG series, which is a bit of a step up, but to be honest, it's actually piss all frickin' dearer. Like it's only a few dollars dearer, and there's all sorts of parts available, all sorts of tips, caps, frickin' available for it as well. I'm not sure on the caps, but like there's lots of different tip sizes and stuff. Like when you get into the pro lights, there's heaps of actually different styles of ear caps that obviously change the way it sprays, all those sorts of things. I haven't really dived into that yet. I don't really understand what the different variations of ear caps mean and what the difference is. Obviously it's for different jobs. It's more directed at, obviously, I would think, at spraying different products, like maybe base coat, and then there's a different ear cap for spraying clear or whatever, if you know what I mean, and it'll give you a different pattern to obviously optimise what you're spraying. That's what I'm guessing the different ear caps are for, and obviously probably maybe different air pressures, and it's probably getting right down to the nitty gritty because they're, as I said, and I did have a hunt round, and I can get one of those pro lights for about 500 dollars here, but I had to hunt. I had to really hunt. There's quite a few places are selling them for $600 or $700, $800 here, depending on obviously what site you get them from. That's normally pretty typical. Some people think they're frickin' worth $1 million, and the other places will obviously sell them at a fairly reasonable cost. You know, like $200 or $300 difference is not that cheap. I actually discovered that if I got one from Spray Guns Direct, it was almost as cheap to buy the one that was here for a bit over $500 by the time you put the freight on it. Maybe if you're buying a few and might have got a better deal out of them, you might have, like if you're buying a say heap of stuff and you're selling it, you'd get a better deal obviously, but for the average man that's just buying one, you hunt around. But so yeah, that might be a bit of a flop. I'm trying to find out from the guys, because I can get, there's a website here called Trade Me, which is a bit like eBay, and there's some of the Australian stores are linked into it, yeah, and I think I can get a kit that may have that seal on it. It looks like it's in that, but I've asked the question, because I'm not going to spend $65 on a seal kit if I can't get that freaking seal. Otherwise I might as well just throw the thing in the rubbish and get another one, which is a bit of a pain. Like, I can understand not being able to get spare parts for a, you know, $40 or $50 gun from the local frickin' you know, like parts store, and they've got some of those cheap guns there that are, you know, 30, 40, 60, $70, you know, and that's like, they've just got a whole heap of that sort of shit, and, you know, it's like a 3 or 4 times use thing and you throw it away. Like, that's a DeVilbiss gun. I thought when I bought that, I knew it was one of their real bottom end guns, but I thought, surely there's still parts available, seals available. And there obviously is, but it obviously depends where you are in the world, and obviously not very easy to get. So, yeah, I won't buy another one of them, for sure. And like, to be honest, I haven't done a lot of spraying through that. Like, I did the dad's tank on his bike, and I think I might have painted the tractors with it. I can't remember. If I didn't paint it through this one, I might have painted it through the other one. And I painted some of the colour and shit through here. I haven't used this a lot, so I'm going to have a bit more of a play and just see if I can get this thing to seal up. But yeah, if it's going to be a pig like that one, yeah, I definitely wouldn't buy one. So yeah, I'd get the FLG. There's a few guns in the mid range that are at $200 or $300 in the DeVilbiss that sound like they're pretty good, and there's lots of parts available. I actually think there was a parts available at the time when I bought that in Australia, because when I was in Australia, but from Spray Guns Direct, but they said, yeah, they can't get parts of them anymore, so maybe the stuff that's in Australia might be some stock that they've got, you know what I mean, that they got at the time and haven't sold everything. So that's why I'm trying to see if I can get a kit to at least get a bit more use out of it, and try and be more gentle with it until I can buy another couple of guns. So yeah, that's sort of a pain in the ass. So I'm going to rub back the putty that I put on this last night, which is on the end of the video. I'll put a little bit of glazing putty on that rear valance and get some primer mixed up and give all this shit another coat once I get myself set up with all the stuff on pedal stands, and then work out what I'm going to do next. Yeah, that's pretty much what I'm going to do. Oh, and I'm going to have a clean up and see if I can find that spring. That's what I was going to do. See if I can hunt out that spring for that other gun, so at least I've got a gun that I can paint with. Like colour. Like, I'll spray it black with that other one, and if I have to, if I don't end up with a really perfect result, I'll just wet sand and polish it out like I'm going to have to do everything else. So it's not going to matter much. So yeah, that's where we're at. That's why I sit down. So yeah, I'll post a couple of pictures up of the other ones that I would get. If you want to get some good reviews of spray guns, hunt through the Gunman's channel. He's got heaps of different guns he tries, so if you find a gun that you think you might be going to buy, go over to his channel, he'll tell you whether it's any good or not. I know his reviews on that weren't terribly good, but spray's pretty reasonable, but if it's going to be a bit of a pig and the seal crap out on it quickly, well, it's not really worth spending the money that it's worth now. I'm pretty sure when I bought that, it was around $100 Australian, where now it's like even the difference between Australia and New Zealand money's not that much different, like it's a few dollars. So like for every $100 it might be 102 or 103 or 104, so it might be sort of $5 out of every $100 sort of type thing. So it's not a big difference in cost. So to be worth a couple $100 now and not being able to get parts for it, it's not really worth buying. You may as well spend an extra few dollars and get, spend an extra $20 or $30 and get a couple of steps up and have way more parts available if you need them. So yeah, that's where I'm at, and I'll get frickin' doing something. Righty, so I've got these all blocked out, sanded down, whatever, ready to bang another coat of primer on. So just a little tip, I guess, most people would know, but when I blocked these out, there was a lot of little spots where it hadn't sanded because I've taken it down as far as I want to take it, and there's obviously a lot of spots that need a bit more material, or it's close to the edge and it doesn't really matter. It's not seen, it's underneath chassis and all that sort of crap. But because I'm putting another coat of high build on it, or primer on it, or paint on it, or whatever you're doing, or whatever stage you're at, make sure you come along and then the spots that haven't been blocked out, at least give them a good scuff over. Make sure that no shiny surface, as in primer or whatever you're painting over. Make sure that all those surfaces have been keyed, that haven't been rubbed over, you know what I mean, or been missed because it's been too low, and you want to put a bit more product on. Make sure you do come back and hit all around those edges and shit, make sure there's no shiny spots, because there was a heap of bits and pieces like that on these, especially on these two. There's a little bit on here too, mainly around the sides and stuff, but yeah, like there was lots of patches where you can see where there's texture still. So I had to come back over and make sure I actually got into them a bit and just knock the worst of the top and make sure I keyed it in a bit, and where it was a bit, hadn't been rubbed over so much. Like, I don't want to dig into it and take that material down too far, but I just wanted to key the worst of the surface, so when I lay some more product in there, it's filling it up and gonna stick, and not, a couple of years down the track, that's where it happens to let go and the paint falls off that piece, because it does happen. So yeah, I've just made sure I've gone around and tried to key in the pieces where it hadn't been rubbed when I was blocking out. So I'm just going to reset my air pressure over here. Now, when I was on the DeVilvis website looking at bits for these guns, it said the optimal pressure for this one here, which is my primer gun, is about 35 psi. I've been spraying about 30-ish, so I'm going to lift it to 35 and just see how that gets on. And that one there was about the same. It said this is optimal pressures, running pressure is about 35. So not that I'm using that one at the moment, but yeah, I'm going to run my pressure, my constant pressure, not what I set the actual gauge at. So I'm going to sit there and hold the trigger on the just the duster gun and just see where I've got to adjust it to. So I'm presuming probably about 45 or just under to get it to sit down at 35 when I'm spraying all the time. That's where a little cheater valve would be better on here, because you get you're not getting the fluctuation where it builds back up when you lift the trigger off, but it's only holding there for a second, so it's not a biggie. You know, as long as you're not, when you go to pull that trigger, you're not pointing it at a spot where you really want the paint. So if you're pulling the trigger out here and then coming across to the panel, where you lose that little extra bit of pressure, and then the fan comes right. You know what I mean? So just got to be aware of that. So when there's a few degree PSI stronger, just for that split second or second and a half until that pressure drops back down again. Yeah. Just don't be on a piece of the body or something where it's critical. You don't want a weird pattern there and then it goes on weird, if you know what I mean. The surface isn't too freaking bad. Like, it's a little bit orange, like it's a wee bit heavy in the orange peel, but it hasn't laid out too bad, but still not how I would like it. But we'll fix that. I'm not worried about it at the moment. We'll let that cure up. Well, it should be cured now. It should come along and just knock the tops off those runs before they get too much harder though. Because it'll be easier with just a wee bit softer. Be a wee bit easier to scrape off. But anyway, I'll carry on and we'll talk to you shortly. Righty guys, so I just finished spraying. And I played with the gun settings a little bit. I lifted it up to 35. I probably had the fluid needle open a little bit too much for a start off, and I might have the mix slightly too runny, because I did make it a wee bit more runny than normal. Well, not so much normal, but yeah, probably slightly runnier than normal, because the tin of thinners is it's fairly full. Sometimes it's awkward to get. I should have poured it into a separate cup and then tipped it in. I ended up with a little bit much in there. So I ended up with a few runs in 2 panels for a start off anyway. Well, but mainly because I think combination between the extra air pressure, I had the fluid needle open about 4 turns, and it had a fairly big fan. It definitely sprayed better, and so I was originally spraying about 30, sprayed at 35. Definitely less crap on the end of the gun, which is a good sign. So, like, it's not building up, especially in the side or in those other little holes that are in the centre. Like, there's a little bit of shit down the bottom, where probably it's just because of gravity. It's building up a little bit down there, if you know what I mean. Like, whatever is going onto the air cap is just going down below it, which is probably not really much of a problem. But it's not building up the same with that extra air pressure and around those things. So I was probably running a bit light. Whether having it a little bit runnier was helping that, but I don't know. So the one thing I had always done years ago and just had sort of half stopped doing it, and it could be part of my problem too, is when you've finished, obviously, splash your first bit of reducer in there, or thinners in there, whatever you want to call it, depending on what it's called on the can. Sometimes it's reducer, sometimes it's thinners. And I know you can get fast. Is this a fast thinners? Fast reducer? Some of them are fast, but a lot of the times here, I've struck the hardeners are like either fast or slow or medium. I haven't really. I suppose because I haven't done a shitloads of spraying. So this just says this thinners here, which is for the colour. Is it? Both the black and the blue, and the same hardener and same colour, because it's obviously the same paint, just different colour. So this is just a reducer MF 4 litres. It doesn't say anything about whether it's a fast or a slow reducer, because a couple of people have asked me that. So yeah, like I know it's it's a fast hardener. So I don't know whether they're confusing reducer and hardener, because I know like most 2-packs I've painted like have either been a slow or a hard or a medium hardener, so it goes off quicker or slower. And so obviously, probably in the heat, you know, do you want a fast one? I don't know. It's something I haven't really studied too much. I've just gone by what they've given us at the time, you know, and worked with it. But anyway, yeah, when I put my first bit of reducer in here, and obviously giving it a bit of a slosh round, giving it a bit of a spray up, one thing I used to do, and it wasn't until I was watching a couple of videos the other day, just to frickin' see if I could pick up any tips and tricks cleaning these guns, because I was having problems. You know, I'd forgotten about holding your rag and the finger over the air cap and pulling the trigger and letting that thinners blow back round and the air blow back up through the cap to help clean up in here. So yeah, that's a good tip if you don't know that one. Yeah, I can remember doing it. I can even remember Dad doing it, you know, back when I was a younger guy and he was painting my cars, because I think first 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, at least the first 4 cars Dad and I panelled and painted. Like my very first car was a Mini, panel painted that. We had a Mitsubishi, 76 Mitsubishi Coupe, we panel beaded and painted that. Because they were all roughish cars at the time, you know, needed body work or rust repair or whatever. A few of them needed motor repairs as well. I had like a 84-ish, 83, 84-ish Toyota Corolla rear-wheel drive notchback coupe, a bit like a Fox body shape. It was a 2-door pillarless thing. Yeah, that was, I panel beaded and painted that because it was full of rot. It had been full of fiberglass in places. Didn't know until we dived into a bit. And then I rebuilt this would have been about 96, I suppose, 97. I rebuilt a 91 Corolla that had been had a soft rollover. I was obviously at low speed and it damaged the roof and done a bit of damage, but we got it straightened out, put a front cut on it and panel beaded and painted that. What else did I do in the early days? Oh, heaps of shit really, but they were probably the first main ones I did, where I've learnt, where I first initially learnt, plus helping Dad do that rugby and all that sort of stuff. So I can remember him doing that and me doing that, spraying primer and all that sort of crap. And it's just something I would normally do, but at this point in time I'd sort of, you know, you get into it and you're sort of one of those tips that I just drifted out of my head, I guess, and just hadn't thought about it. So yeah, back purge, I guess you would call that, your spray gun after you put your first lot of, you know, put some thinners, give it a bit of a shake round, obviously get all the loose paint clean and sort of loosened up and all the fresh paint loosened up so it's not sticking to everything, and back purge it. And then I'll just dump that thinners wherever in here. So I don't know if I can tip it up enough so you can sort of see that this is an old one, but you can see there's a bit of paint in there. I was trying not to do that. Anyway, so yeah, now I'm going to strip the gun. Well, I'm going to pull the. Yeah, I might just pull it down and see how dirty it is inside there now, just for reference, because the gunman, if you haven't watched any of the gunman's videos, he's a guy in Australia. He's been doing videos for roughly 7 years, but he has got some couple of sporadics that were back about 10. It sort of like goes back about 10 years, but it's only like 1 or 2 that are 10 years old, and all the rest of them are about 7 years old or newer, up to date. He's done a shitload of stuff, a shitload of videos on gun reviews, all those sorts of things, because that Spray Guns Direct, that's the reason why I started buying my guns from Spray Guns Direct. They were sending him guns to review, and a lot of the guys, people were buying the guns off him, and they go, yeah, no, frick, this gun works good, Magic, thanks for their advice. You know, and he's reviewing from crap, like really cheap entry guns, and just saying, yeah, no, this is a piece of shit. You know, or if he's found something that he's sort of half decent, he's used it for a while and see if how it performed, you know, even if it was an $80 gun. You know, he's used it as a, I don't know, like a chassis black gun or a primer gun or something like that, depending obviously what it was, and given it a reasonable test out for a while, you know, put it in his mix and tested it, and if he's used it and it's failed in 3 or 4 months' time, you know, he's maybe done a review on it, said, you know, this thing performs all right, we'll give it a run, I'll throw up my daily mix and see how it goes. He's got a lot of stuff like that. So yeah, there's a lot of guns out there that are reasonable, and even some better guns, like some high-end expensive guns that are just not what they should be, if you know what I mean. You know, I've seen them frickin' like pick up a gun from like Iwata or some of the other brands, like there's heaps of them, but like I've seen him pick up guns that should have been really frickin' magic guns, and he said, oh, the fan's too frickin' small, you know, it just won't lay the paint down, or it's, you know, it's not a bad gun, but yeah, like the fan's too small, or shit like that. Like, if you're looking for guns, go have a look at his channel, it's fucking well worth watching. He explains a lot of shit, obviously tells you how to clean them and whatever, and tells you what paint he's been putting through them and all that sort of stuff, and tells you like lots of tips and tricks for laying down paint too. You know, like I haven't watched a lot of his stuff in recent years, like I mean probably the last 3 or 4, but occasionally I'll go back and just have a look and see what he's put out, you know. I don't follow him religiously like I probably did 5 or 6 years ago, when I was really trying to start honing the skills to obviously to do that VC Valiant, because I was trying to do a decent fucking job on that, and the Dodge. And I was watching a few videos then just to try and refresh myself and pick up extra tips and tricks. But yeah, I was actually watching a couple of videos of his just on cleaning guns and cleaning stations and building stuff. Yeah, and that was something that I totally forgot about, was the back purging. So yeah, do that. So now I'm going to strip this down. We'll pull this down. Actually, maybe pull it down on camera, and we'll have a good look and just see how much difference that back purge made. And I can give this stuff a bit of a scrub. Obviously, get the paint off the end of it and give it a general clean. So that's a little bit of paint in there, and that looks fresh, but I don't know if that's, yeah, that could have been just in there too. Could have been come out when I was been splotching shit around too. But so that's clean on the inside. Obviously, it should be. I think my fault for the crap getting into them was me dumping it in there, and it's not being in, you know, being in half dirty thinners like that. It's come out of the gun and thought it hasn't been too bad, and then it's probably been adding paint into there because it's been sitting in it. My bad. Hey, but that's, it probably wouldn't matter if it was only in there for a few minutes. You just give it a swap around and then clean it. But if you've been a dumbass like me and have been a bit lazy, I thought, I'll give that a freaking quick rinse out, and then I'll just throw it in there and worry about it tomorrow. I need to stop doing that. Let's have a quick look in here. And see well that back purge has worked. Maybe I don't have to strip the guns down quite so much if I do that. I might end up with less wear and tear on seals and shit. But I want to have a look. Well, that was something else I forgot about too. I had a freaking heap of those little filters. I completely forgot about them. I actually had 3 or 4 over there. These here go up in here, sit against the bottom of the thing, so it just stops any big shit going through. if you can see in there, but there's a bit of crap in there, so it stopped any bigger shit going through there. Even though I filtered it when I put it in the gun, there was still crap in there, and that's just stopping a bit of extra shit. And I'd forgotten that I had them. So yeah, they just sit down in there, obviously. Another tip that I'd forgotten about, I'd picked it up with watching the gunman too, because he was pulling those filters out. And I was like, I got some of them. Maybe I should use the bastards. No, it's just stupid shit that you forget about. So with the back purge, that's pretty clean in there. Like a bit of a rinse out now at a gun station, and that would be fucking pretty clean. So that might have been because I was missing that step. Like even the needles, like this pretty bloody clean. There's not much paint left on that. And a quick wipe down and it'll be fine, you know. So, yeah. Maybe that's the magic tip. Back purge your fucking gun. Well, I guess that's what you would call it. So you hold your finger over the fluid tip. Well, yeah, the fluid tip where the needle comes out. When you've got some thinners in there, after you've given it a half rinse out, and pull the trigger with the air still clogged up and let it frickin' bubble around in there and clean the crap out. That might just solve a lot of my problems and everybody else's problems. It's just one of those tips and tricks that had slipped my mind. So, yeah. But anyway, I'll carry on. I'll give this a quick scrub, make sure it's clean, put it back together, and don't leave it in the shit. And yeah, we'll carry on. Yeah, righty. So after I stripped and cleaned that gun out, I sloshed another bit of thinners in there and gave it a spray, and then back purged it a few times again, and then gave it another spray just to try and loosen any other little bits of shit out of there. So that gun now should be good, and with that pressure and everything, even the fan even looks better. So I'm quite happy about that. Obviously, it just wasn't quite high enough, but you know, that's what you learn when you make mistakes. You try and learn not to make them again. Well, hopefully not for a while. And I won't fucking try not to forget that bloody back purging the gun, just in case you missed that. Lights. Yeah, pull the trigger and hold your finger on there with a rag, obviously, and let it bubble up back up through the gun, just to make sure it's doubly clean. So yeah, I've cleaned it, well, sloshed it out with some thinners for starter when I finished painting. Back purged it quite a few times, gave it a couple of spray out, back purged it again, trying to loosen all that shit up that's obviously inside there. Stripped it down, gave it everything a clean out, put it back together again, put some fresh thinners back in there again, or reducer, whatever, and sprayed it out and back purged it again, and sprayed it out and back purged it again, and then just sprayed everything out. So now it should be dead set ready to go for next time. And before I spray it and put paint in it, I'll just put a wee splash of thinners through there, blow it out, maybe back purge it and blow it out, and then I know it's ready to go when it's, I think just with sitting, you know, even if it's a few days or a few weeks or whatever, it doesn't hurt to throw a bit of thinners in there. At least if is there anything in there that's loose or whatever, it should come loose and blow out. But as long as you've cleaned it properly, shouldn't have any problems. Yeah, remember that. Right, so that's cool. That shit's all sprayed. It's almost lunchtime-ish, so I might just have a wee sort out here and bugger off and have some lunch. Come back, shift that crap out of the road, and I might scrape the run off the back of this thing, or a couple of run and the slight sag off the back of that. See if I can knock that off with the razor blade, and then maybe start wet sanding it. But I need to get some. I need to get some paper. I've got some 800 here, but I want to get some 1500, 2000 and 3000, because I don't want to rub it too far with 800. Just probably the worst of it where that isn't just knock the peel off it, the worst of the peel, and then just go around it, and then we'll hopefully by the time we get down through the different layers it'll be close to no orange peel left. I'm not going to try and knock it back so there's almost no orange peel. Like I'll make it say if I can see the odd little infection, like when I mean infection, like orange peel infection, I'm not going to panic. I'm not going to go for the dead set, super duper show and finish, because I know it's not going to get looked after. It's going to get looked after, but it's not going to get clean and all that sort of bullshit that often. So I'm just going to knock it back so when we buff it out, it looks really good, and it's just got a very fine, it should have almost a dead flat finish, you know what I mean? It'll have this very slight texture to it, but it'll be polished, shiny. It'll be probably better than most factory, but not quite flattened out fully. That's what I'm going to do with trying everything, so it's not hard back to rubbed completely flat out. Almost. I don't think there's any point going that far. If it was something that was going to clean it and polish it and whatever, and clean it and polish it and whatever, and make sure it was really super clean all the time, I probably would. But I know that he's going to look after it and make sure it's right, but I don't think it's ever going to get cleaned very often. You know, it'll get driven, maybe a hose off and parked back in the shed type thing. So yeah, I know that's not going to get, so I'm not going to get mega fussy, but I want it to look good. And obviously get rid of the orange peel that's on it, and almost flat, if you know what I mean. Almost dead flat, no orange peel. So that's the plan. Right, we'll catch you after lunch sometime. Righty guys, so that primer laid out pretty good. For what it is, like there's a few dry spots just because the way I've sprayed it, but you know, again, it doesn't really matter. It's high build. It's going to be blocked off. I was just trying to get as much product on there as possibly could. There's a couple of places where I've got some runs in it because I poured it in there to try and, you know, fill the odd little mark that I could see as I'm doing it. But it's laid out pretty good, so I'm pretty happy with how that gun's running now. And that 35 psi, it seems to be working better. This sprayed out pretty good. That one there, I had the fluid needle open a little bit far, and I had it run on me. But I'm not worried about that either. This laid out pretty good too. There's a few little funny patches down there, but that's because I sprayed back over some last little spots when I still had a little bit left in the gun, just trying to fill some of the spots that I knew that were trouble-ish, you know, that were still the low areas before that, just to try and give them a little extra meat. As you can see, the runs down there. Might be easier to see that way, can you? Yeah. I just had it opened up. I think 4 turns on the fluid needle when it was just a bit far. I wound it back in and it sprayed fine. Might have been a little bit close too, but that was the first pass. And that was me just pouring it, trying to fucking fill a hole. I was like, oh, there's plenty of runs in there, I'll just pour it on there. That'll help fill the hole up a little bit. I'll block it out, hopefully it won't be there so much. But anyway, so that's cool, they look good. They come up pretty freaking sweet actually. And a little bit more work now, and they'll be better put some colour on them. So that's cool. So whenever we scrape this run in the back here, one of these runs, let's see how we get on. So we've got one here. You can see, just bugger all. It's hardly, you know, it pissed me off. And then there's another one somewhere. Where the frick is it? I'm trying to see where it is. I know it's here somewhere. Oh, you're down here. That's where it is. Another wee sag there. That's all that's in it, I think. It may be the other. It may be the other spot when I look around it. don't think there's any others, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure, there may be somewhere. We'll find out when we send it back to buff it. But so yeah, look, it's not horrendously horrible, but it's quite it's quite orange peely, and I think if I probably wasn't fighting that gun quite so much, and a few other things, and maybe had the pressure up a little bit higher, like I probably would have got it, but it's probably just lack of knowledge too of this paint, and yeah. But anyway, that's what it is. It'll buff up. It'll look pretty good, really, once we've got it sorted. Just another little run there, is there? I feel that. Or is it just a bit of shit that was in the paint? It might have been just a bit of shit that was in the paint. Just felt like there was a run there. Yeah. I don't think so. I thought there was something there, but it might have been just that. I felt might have knocked something off there that was stuck on the top. Anyway, we'll start scraping that off. Righty, so I'm just colour sanding, just doing the initial with 800, just trying to knock the worst of the orange peel off, just trying to bring it down to a reasonable level without going stupid and breaking through, and also at the same time as I will be sanding that top piece here to get it ready to spray black on when I get these ready to spray black. I'll do that as well, so I'll get this all prepped and ready for buffing, but I won't buff it out until I've painted that black, obviously, just so I don't get polish and whatever else up there. But I'll just get the body wet sanded back through the layers, and then give this a scuff, or sand this at the same time probably, and get that ready for black. So it'll be just black here. There's the windscreen post comes up here, so I'll probably just tape it out somewhere about where I'll stick the probably post on, this, mark it out where it needs to be, and I'll just paint it black and then just mask it out. We'll just mask this piece out and just paint it black, because the post will be black too, so it'll be just blacker in that back piece. If you haven't caught up with some of these earlier videos, I've explained, so the upholstery comes up and over to here, on here. That's why this extra bit of timber's on here. It's just the way they built the car, and I've replicated it the best I can. So there'll be upholstery down to here, and then it'll be black down. And then also on this piece will be the clips to hold the convertible top on. So you don't actually see a lot of this, but yeah, like the first sort of half an inch. Well, I'll probably be all black anyway, but you'll only see the first half an inch, and the rest it will be upholstery, where the upholstery comes over for the rear seat and whatever. So I'm just getting that sorted, and yeah, when we paint those bits black, I don't think I might buff the firewall or not, might not, but I don't think, I'm not going to worry about coming around to here. I think it's pretty shiny, and I don't think it's going to make a hell of a difference. It's going to be underneath the rest of it anyway, and it's also going to have the what do you want to call it, the webbing, welting, whatever it is, for the hood top and sides to sit on anyway. So I don't think it's really worth buffing that out, and I probably will just leave this. I might just give it a light wet sand with maybe 2,000 or 3,000, and then just give it a light buff. But I think it's not too bad. And by the time you get all the crap in here in the motor and the few bits and pieces that are on the firewall, you're not going to be looking hard at it, but it's not too bad. I try to get it reasonably glossy. It's not as bad as it was the first time, but it's not perfect. So that's why I might just knock it back with some of the higher grits, and then just give it a light buff over and shine it up again. So yeah, and I will buff these other pieces as well, and obviously the fenders, because there's that one with the runner. So there's one with a little run in it here, where I was doing the last pass on this one fender, and the last couple of passes and run out on this edge and begun, and then it sprayed clear, and then I reapplied after a few minutes, and when I must have come up over there and paused, and because I mixed such a little bit in the gun, it was a little bit runny, and I've just got a little static line there, and the rest of it's not very. The rest of them probably get away with, but because I'm going to buff that one out, I'm going to buff the rest too, and then they'll all be sanded back, wet sanded back and buffed out like the body, so everything will sort of blend in. So yeah, so that's where I'm at the moment. So I'm just sort of done a rough pass round. I've just given it a quick rub back, gone around, let it dry off, wiped it down, seen where we're at, and I'll go again, because I don't want to wet sand too far. I only really want to take it back to probably sort of this sort of level in here. No, so it's almost all gone, and then we'll break into the next grade. So I'm just being cautious, because I don't want to have to. I've got paint left, but I don't want to put any more paint on it if I don't have to. It's got freaking plenty on it, so it should be fine, but I'm just being cautious and just taking it back quietly. If I have to puff a little bit on the edge or something like that, if I do happen to break through anywhere, well, it is what it is, but I am trying to avoid that. I don't want to be putting any more blue on anything. I don't need to put any more blue on anything. There may be the odd small part, but I don't think there's. I think it's really only the body panels. It's only really the main body and tub and doors and the frontal pieces, like for the bonnet and stuff. Everything else should be black, or the wood trim, the painted wood trim stuff, and the tops of the doors, which are a painted wood effect. Everything else should be either black or upholstery or something else, chrome, well, not chrome, nickel. Everything else will be nickeled. Actually, hopefully we get the proper radiator shell back too. That'll be interesting to see how that's come up, because they were going to dip it and sand it back and dip it and sand it back and dip it and sand it back with copper to get it right, and because it was really badly pitted. So hopefully it's come out all right. I was going to just get them to dip the crap out of it and then bring it back, and I was going to block it out, but they said they would do it, and the cost was reasonable for the amount of work they're going to have to do, because it's going to be a bitch of a thing to get right. So hopefully they do it justice, and yeah, be pissed off if they do a freaking shitty job on it. But anyway, because it is just going to be nickeled, because nothing, this area chroming sort of come in the 30s. This is 25, so it's sort of pre-chrome. But I think nickels, in some ways, it can be nicer looking, in some ways, if you know what I mean. On this sort of old stuff, it sort of suits this stuff a bit better. But anyway, I'll carry on. Right, welcome back again to Lindsay Mopo Outlaw Customs. Morning again. So I started sending it back with the 800 last night. Yeah, it probably needs a bit more with the 800, and then when I get some 1500, 2000 and 3000, I'll keep sanding on that. But I'm going to block these other pieces back that are primed back, see where we're at, see whether they need another coat or not, or 2 coats, just to try and get these imperfections out that are going to be seen. Should be getting closer, obviously. It's got more layers of paint on it. So I'll block these hard back, see where we're at, and then go from there, I guess. That's about all I can do, just so I can get these. Once I can get the black on these, at least I can flick the black around the top of that body, and then we're on to the small stuff. Then we can get that plastic off this chassis and actually start making it look like a car. Instead of just a bunch of painted pieces around the floor. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at the moment. And I'll get to it. I was just trying to think, was there anything else I was going to tell you this morning? I was bound to be thinking of something and then forgotten about it at the moment. What was I thinking about? I know I was thinking about something. I was actually just going through that footage this morning, but I haven't gone through it all from yesterday. I can't remember exactly what I talked about. No, that'll do in the meantime. I'll just get Sandy. We'll try and keep it short this morning. Righty, so these things are away shortly-ish, like in an hour or so, to be looked at and checked over and make sure they're not going to, the spokes are all going to come loose and everything on us when we go to first drive it, obviously, in hopefully a month or two, or 3, or whatever. So yeah, bit of an update on that. I'm only just blocking this back. At the moment, I've just sort of done this side, get a bit more to rub back, try and see if I can get down a little bit further. But it looks like I might have to actually put some glazing putty in there. It's a little bit deeper than I thought it was. I think I'll get this, as long as I can get the worst of this, you know, because this here, the running board, whether we actually use these as running boards or not, this is what they made up at one point. So this is their, we'll call it their possible running board template. So as long as it's not, like if it's below, it's sort of mark, what are we, about 1 inch thick or thereabouts. As long as it's below that, it doesn't really matter. So yeah, as long as we can't see anything there. So we're not doing too bad, we've just got that one patch there, which is a little bit low yet. And a little bit here really, you know, as long as we can get rid of some of these other marks, we'll be golden on this side anyway. And as long as it's reasonably clean part way back here, we'll be good. A fair chunk near the front, but hardly anything at the back, so we're heading in the right direction anyway. So I'll put this back. So yeah, that's just a briefly update. Yeah, not much has changed in the last half an hour. Just yeah, we just had to confirm that we can take those wheels down to a guy that does a lot of that sort of stuff. He builds wagon wheels and all that sort of thing. That sort of stuff. Build a lot of wheels for the truck museum, for their older trucks and all that sort of stuff. So he's the local sort of guru that does all that sort of thing for wooden wheels, and makes steering wheels. He probably will remake the wooden band for the steering wheel here for that too, possibly. See how that goes. I think I might leave that to him. Possibly. But yeah, I'll block this out a wee bit more, see if we can get this down a little bit further, get a bit cleaner. And yeah, I'm going to have to, I feel it's a bit deeper than I thought it was. I didn't think it was quite so deep, but I might have just to put a skim of that putty through here and knock it off, and then yeah, when we put another coat of high build on there, hopefully we can get it to blend out. I can just feel it's got a bit of a dip in it still. Like I'm getting a chunk of it, but it's definitely low through there. So you know, we'll get this one knocked back both sides and throw the other one up there, I guess. Yep.